Welcome back. If you've just joined us, you're watching the news at 10 on Channels Television, coming to you live from Lagos. A reminder of our top stories. Concerns mount over rising insecurity in different parts of the country as Acting Inspector General of Police Muhammad Adamu begins assessment of situation in Kaduna and Zamfara states. 7 people killed and 5 others seriously injured after a gang of armed robbers raided a bank in Ondo State. Supreme Court strikes out suit filed by Senator Magnus Abe seeking to amend his notice of appeal in the Rivers APC primaries. And UN condemns airstrike on Libya's only functioning airport as thousands flee fighting around the country's capital, Tripoli. ChannelsTV.com has more information for you, and on youtube.com/channelsweb you can watch our videos. You can also watch us on your mobile device via your browser or download the Channels TV app for Android and iOS devices from their respective stores. Besides giving you access to news and updates on the go, the Channels TV and Channels 24 app has an eyewitness feature that you can use to share pictures, videos or news of happenings around you. Just install the app, tap and swipe to reveal the menu, and then follow the instructions. Now let's discuss the worrying trend of security breaches across the country. I'm now being joined on the news at 10 by a former officer of the Department of State Services and, of course, the Regional Vice President, ASIS International, Oluseyi Adetayo. Thanks a lot for joining us on the news at 10. So we hear bank robberies, banditry, kidnapping, then you have killings. Many people say we're in the middle of a serious crisis. Is that the way you see it?
Yeah, I think they're right, because it's actually obvious. We just getting to experience new incidents every day, and it appears as if there's no end in sight, as it is. I think this can likely be attributed to, one, the economic situation, the political situation in the country, that has given the situation to exacerbate to this level. Like the last time I came, I mentioned the fact that the election actually diverted government security agencies' attention away from those seemingly intractable security challenges, because they need to actually focus security assets on the election. So that has given them, the liberty to be able to expand and cover lots of ground. So we are like coming back to now face what we left behind and then finding it more intractable.
Yeah, but what should the approach be? Because the way you see it is not one part of the country. You have pockets of different sorts of violence in different parts. For instance, you have Kano, where they talk about ethnic clashes and all that, different from Lagos, where we're now seeing
even the chief
kidnapping
crisis
exactly.
in Taraba that
so
is
it
right now.
I don't know, what should the approach be? Since there are different sorts of issues in different places, what sort of a security approach are you looking at?
Right now, we need to realize the fact that the current security architecture is not working. It's not working in the sense that we're paying and giving too much responsibility to the current government security agencies. There are so many areas that are covered right now that should be left for the private security to handle, so that they can actually handle the core areas. If you look at the United States, there are, areas of security that are left for private security to handle. So you can concentrate the efforts of the government security agencies on core areas where the manpower, for example, if you remove the number of policemen that are providing executive protection right now and they divert them to core security issues, it will go a long way. But a whole lot of them are currently providing that facility.
Okay,
also,
for those who are there now, whose job it is, I mean, you've been in service before. What is this whole thing about not being able to know when an attack is going to happen? And then you react afterward. I mean, we continue to talk about it, but it remains the problem.
Yeah, well, agreed that, it takes a lot for government to be able to develop strong intelligence assets whereby you'll be able to preempt or predict an attack. But the truth is that you require the support and assistance of the people, the locals, for you to be able to effectively nip a crime or an incident before it happens. So that is not there. So the issue of the trust is actually not there, or is eroding faster than we can think of now. Let me ask you
about something that we should know about. I mean, being that you were, once part of the counter-terrorism task force in Zamfara particularly, and then we see the the challenges there again. What exactly is the problem with that place?
Okay, I wasn't part of task force in Zamfara, okay, but my understanding of what is happening in Zamfara, see, if you look at the map of Zamfara, from Taleta to down to Niger, there's a belt, a forest belt, and Bukuyum and Co. And that is where these people, right from Sokoto, so there's a forest belt that extends straight to Niger. And that is where these people are. And about 8 local governments in that, out of about 14 local governments in Zamfara, there is mining activities that's actually going on there. And the issue of mining is on one side. Then the issue of banditry is another factor. And then if you now look at activities that is surrounding, intervention in terms of trying to curb this issue, is like we are having fire. Adding fuel to the fire. Okay. Now, let me try to explain one or two things.
Well, you need to be we're actually run out of time if we're going to talk about security.
Okay, so there's large numbers of bandits hibernating inside our forests, and they are heavily armed, and they are also made up of foreigners, because it extends straight to Niger, so they can actually move into. And there have been this relationship between them and the Emirates in terms of trying to negotiate with them for them to maintain peace. So it's more or less like a business in that particular axis. And it is when you see them, they kidnap in a particular community, tax the community to make payment. And the community fails to make payment, they go there and clear that community.
All right, that's where we're going to have to leave it. Regional Vice President of Access International, Luasheyi Adetayo. Thanks a lot for joining us on the news at 10. Let's turn our attention away from security to one of the president's concerns concerning the new wave of cybercrime and terrorism, which has continued to threaten the positive strides of his administration. The president, who was speaking at the 9th annual investment meeting holding in Dubai, the United Arab Emirates, asked all world leaders to come up with proposals to create a digital world that is safe and accessible, as Nigeria has taken the lead in cyber policing in West Africa by working with regional and global partners. He says, quote, "Our public sector reform programs focus on digitizing key operations, from procurement to payroll to revenue collections. We're using digital platforms to reinforce our objectives of improving efficiency, accountability and transparency in governance." End of quote. President Buhari made reference to the cyberspace being used to manipulate elections, subvert the democratic rights of citizens, as well as propagate violence. And he explains that his administration is working to create the largest digital database in Africa with the nation's digital identity system, which has over 30 million Nigerians and legal residents. Meanwhile, now the presidency is speaking on the benefits of the president's visit to Jordan and the United Arab Emirates. The special advisor to the president on media and publicity, Mr. Femi Adesina, told Channels Television from Dubai this evening that the continuing security cooperation with the King Abdallah of Jordan, as well as bilateral meetings with investors, are just some of the benefits. The presidential spokesperson also highlighted what the government is doing to tackle the myriad of security challenges across the country, starting with Zamfara.
Let me begin with the issue of this trip. The president was in Amman, Jordan, and now he's in Dubai. What are the essential benefits of these 2 trips to Nigeria?
Thank you. The fact that President Muhammadu Buhari was invited as keynote speaker in those 2 events, I think is very significant to Nigeria. The first one was an economic summit. This second one in Dubai is an investment meeting. And he was invited to the 2 to give the keynote address. That shows that the world has noticed that something is happening in Nigeria. If Nigeria was down economically, if things were not looking up, President Buhari would not qualify as keynote speaker. But because they have seen that he is retooling the Nigerian economy, they have invited him to share experiences. And that's what he did at the 2 events, both in Jordan and in Dubai. He shared the Nigerian experience with the rest of the world.
All right, let me take you to the issue of security now, the security challenges. A lot of challenges are being faced in terms of security from Zamfara to Kaduna, to Borno, and so on. I mean, if we're just taking recent examples, even Lagos, and so on. Now, what is government doing? Because people are anxious, very anxious, to know what exactly is government doing to tackle these various challenges.
Thank you. Yes, it's the responsibility of government to ensure the security and the safety of life and properties. Is the responsibility of government. But then we must also recognize that we run 3 tiers of government in Nigeria: federal, state, local government. There are some that will be responsibility of the local government, there will be some responsibility of the states, and then some responsibility of the federal government. The tendency in Nigeria is to call the federal government to come and solve every security challenge. No, it's not so. It's the responsibility of government to ensure safety of life and property, but government is also at 3 tiers: federal, state, and local government. Now, having said that, President Buhari is committed to ensuring safety of life and property in the country. You know, he talks about 3 fundamental principles of his administration. Number 1 usually is to secure the country. And he says before you can effectively run a country, you must first secure it. So he believes in securing the country.
When the news at 10 returns, the Federal Inland Revenue Service and the National Lottery Regulatory Commission launch automation of value-added tax collection system in the lottery and the gaming industry. That's on Business. Do join us again.